In this video, we're being asked to find the slope of the blue line that's given here in the image. So we're not being given 2 points on the line, we're just given the line itself. So what we need to do is we need to take 2 points from this line, read them off the graph, and then we can use our equation that helps us solve for the slope of a line. And we'll use that to figure out what the slope is. Now, I've indicated 2 points here on the line. So we're going to read these points off of our graph. We're going to write them in their point form, and then we're going to use those to solve. Okay, so let's look. What is our first point? Here we go. We've got our y, we have our x. This is negative x. This is positive y. So let's read it. We've got 1, 2 in the negative direction. So our x must be negative 2. And for the y, we're moving in the positive direction because we're above the x-axis. And we just have to move up 1 square. So it's a positive 1. Okay, let's read our second point. Now, once again, when we're looking at the x-axis, so the x value, we are on this left-hand side of the y-axis, so that means it's going to be a negative x value. And let's count over. 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be a negative 3. And then we're going to deal with our y value. Okay, now this y value is below the x-axis. So that means the y value must be negative. Okay, and we're going to count down. 1, 2, 3. So this is negative 3. So this means that the 2 points that we have here indicated on our blue line on our graph are negative 2 and 1 and negative 3, negative 3. Okay, now we can solve for slope. Now we often call slope m. So our slope, or m, is going to be equal to delta y over delta x. And what this delta means, it's the change in y, okay, and the change in x. All right, what is that? Well, it is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, so we've broken it down further, but still, what are these values? What are they equal to? Okay, so we have our point, our first point here, point 1. We have our second point here, point 2. This is the x value, this is the y value. Same thing, x value, y value. So for point 1, we could say the x value is, we're going to call it x1, and that is equal to negative 2. And then the y value would be y1, right? Because these are both from our point 1. That's equal to 1. Now we're going to do the same thing with our second point. So this is the x value for our second point, so that's x2 is equal to negative 3. And then our y value, which would be y2, is going to also equal negative 3. And we just took this information from our points, okay? The points that we read off of our graph that were on our blue line. Okay, so now what we can do is we can plug this information in here and just simply solve for our slope, right? So what do we have? Our y2 is negative 3. And then we're going to subtract our y1, which is simply 1. And that's divided by our x2, which is negative 3. So we need to subtract our x1, which is negative 2. So we'll need a bracket, negative 2. So we have the right amount of negative and minus signs. Okay, so let's just simplify this. Negative 3 minus 1 is simply negative 4. And in our denominator, we have negative 3 minus negative 2. So we need to take a step here. We'll just recopy our negative 3. Now, negative or minus negative 2, we need to multiply these two signs together, okay? When we have two signs that are the same, whether they're both positive or both negative, and we multiply them together, our answer is always going to be a positive. So minus or subtract negative 2 is actually plus 2, okay? And we'll simplify again. We still have our negative 4. We'll have negative 3 plus 2, which is simply negative 1. Now, when we have a negative in our numerator and in our denominator, they cancel each other out. Okay? So the two negatives are actually going to end up giving us a positive answer. In a similar way, how when we multiplied the two negatives, we end up with a positive. This is a fraction, but a fraction is a division we haven't done. So when we divide a negative by a negative, we get a positive. Okay? So we know our sign is positive, and so it's simply 4 divided by 1, which is just 4. And that's what our slope is. So our slope, m, is equal to 4. If you would like to learn how to quickly study for your GED exam online and get a new resume, then visit testprepskills.com.